Hi folks, hope you're all doing great today. And on this video, we're gonna talk about infrastructure as a code, more specifically about Terraform and how you as a data engineer can use it to automate the way you create all the infrastructure for your projects, like all the files you need to upload to a storage, be it on GCP or on Amazon, how to create a database and how to create buckets for storage, everything. And you see that when you have a bigger project with a lot of files and a lot of database, it can be a pain to update everything manually every time you make a bunch of changes in all the files. So we will see today how you can easily do this kind of thing automated using Terraform Cloud in your project. So what's Terraform? Terraform is an open source project that lets you create infrastructure as a code for the main cloud providers. And then you can use Terraform technology to keep your workflows to create all this infrastructure, and you see how it works better. First, Terraform is to have you need to work with its CLI and make it all on your machine, and then keep some config files on your machine to keep the versions of all the infrastructure created. But recently Terraform launched Terraform Cloud, and you see how it's very easy to use it and how we can keep all this automating process much more faster. So now let's dive into the codes and all the screens and see how we can do it. So let's start here by seeing our code in our local machine. So suppose you have a project, like whatever, I give it the name Terraform test, but suppose you have a lot of files. It can be like PySpark code, which you are creating reports or other things. But here we just created a folder named files, in which we have a hello world.py file that just prints hello world. It's not real for any project, but suppose you have some folder with lots of scripts to create reports in Python, or PySpark scripts to create reports, and then you need to upload it to a bucket, and to a bucket in, be it on Google Cloud Storage or in Amazon AWS, and you can very fast in your project you can start to have lots of these files, and every time you must change it, you would need to upload it manually, and it would be very hard to keep track of all of that and be sure that the last version you have on your project on your GitHub, it's the same one which which is on the bucket on your cloud provider. So to use Terraform to control all of that and to make the whole process easier for you, you keep in your project another folder called infrastructure, and here is the Terraform code where all our Terraform code will be kept. So Terraform is, we use it has its own language that's called HCL. It's from HashiCorp language, because Terraform is an open source project maintained by HashiCorp, and generally we will use some snippets of codes to create each resource we want to create on our cloud provider. So what we want to do here is create some infrastructure, just create a bucket in Google and in Google Cloud Platform, and then send this file hello world.py, that which is on our project, to this bucket. Okay, so first of all, you have this folder, this project on your GitHub. Like here I have on a public repository here, you can see that all the folders are the same folders are on the project, and so there are some Terraform files which you need. First of all, we start with a main.tf file, in which you must declare which provider we want to use. The provider is like a plugin from Terraform, which a plugin from each cloud provider, and when you declare it here from the Google Cloud provider, it's going Terraform will going to install it in your workspace, and then it will be possible to interact with Google Cloud platform. And so, but how do you know that? How do we know that this is the snippet for the provider? All the code documentation is very clear on Terraform website. So, for example, we can, if you go to Google and we look for Terraform provider here, you can find this link. And here are all the explanation about the providers. And if you go here to provider configuration, here's the snippet of code, just can copy and paste there. It's basically the same things we're using here. And so the only difference is that, for example, our project is on the region US Central 1. We could write this name here, but also another best practice here is to create another file named variables.tf, in which you can create many variables. So we create one named Google region. So here is this variable, it's the resource. Google region, it's the name of the resource on Terraform, and we are giving its default value as US Central 1. So instead of writing US Central 1 every time we need the region, we can just refer to the variable here. And then it's very useful when we start to have, for example, lots of files which go to the same bucket, and lots of files that use lots of resources that use the same region. If for one reason in the future you need to change it, change the name of a bucket, change the name of project of the region, you can just change the name of your variable. So here we are using the Google region and your Google project name, which is on the variable. So that's the main one, and then we can start to create files for each type of resource we want. So first of all, we want to create a bucket on Google Cloud, a Google storage bucket on our Google Cloud platform. If I come here to my storage on my project, we can see we have no bucket here, it's all empty. So here, that's the name for the Google storage bucket, and it's the name on my project, which I'm giving to this the Terraform level name, which I'm giving to the Google storage bucket. And here I need to provide the name and the location, so which I am accessing from my variables. So I have a variable here named Google bucket, which I gave the name Terraform cast files. Then I can refer to this variable here, and as well my bucket files are, and so this is the code snippet which I need to create a Google storage bucket. And when we have this Google storage bucket created, we will send this file here, hello world.py, to this bucket. So this is the resource for an object in a Google storage bucket object, and I'm giving the name hello world file on the Terraform. And well, here's the name which the file will be saved in the bucket. I'm creating a folder named files, and we will store the file inside of it. Here's the source in our project, so it's on the folder files, hello world.py. The bucket, I'm using the name of the variables, which we already saw, and I'm putting a dependency here, so it depends on the Google storage bucket resource. It's here, the same name, and the name of this resource is project.files. So that's the reason I'm creating the dependence here. I write the type of the resource and its name, its name. Okay, with that we can then send it to our GitHub, but Before that, I'm gonna show you how you must set up Terraform to interact with your GitHub, and then when we submit, when we push everything to our repository, Terraform will receive this information and create our infrastructure. Okay. Here we'll go to our Terraform account. I already have set up a Terraform account here, but you can do it going to this website, and after you set up, create your account, you'll be on the Workspace page, and then you need to create a workspace. Generally, it's best that you create a workspace for each project you have. So you're going to do one new workspace. You can choose some types of workflows to update your infrastructure, and generally in the example we're going to see is the version control workflow that is connecting with GitHub. So here it is. I already connect my account to GitHub here. You can connect to different tool options, different providers, but I'm using the existing GitHub connection I have. Here it shows all my repositories. When I come to the GitHub, here it shows all my repositories, and the one we saw before is named Terraform test, so I can find it here. Here it is. I'll select it. I can put a description here. I'll leave it blank. And very important here on the advanced options, we are creating all our infrastructure inside the folder infrastructure. So we must set this directory here, because otherwise the Terraform would look for its files on the root of the directory and would find nothing. So important we put the name of the folder here, or if you have another subsequent path, just write it all here. Okay. There's another options here that you can leave all as default, and we're going to create the workspace. Okay. So before we create the workspace, I'm just gonna make some changes here and push. Let's, for example, change the name of the bucket, Terraform test files like 2, and I'm gonna add everything to my GitHub. I'm gonna commit, change Google bucket name. I'm gonna push it. May. Okay, let's push the files. So here I should have. I already have my new commit, and then here I'm going to create the workspace. Okay, workspace is created. Workspace created. Before we can execute some runs, we must create some configuring variables. Mainly it's how it's gonna give access from Terraform to our GSP account. So we are and what I'm gonna add here is an environment variable which I must give the name Google credentials, and on the value we must generate a service account and get and then generate a key with in the format of JSON and paste its value here. So for example, if we come here to the IAM of our account, you can create a service account. Here I created one with the name Terraform, and after and with the access level of editor, so it can create everything. and after that I generated a key and exported its value as a JSON. So I'm not gonna show you, but here I'm gonna copy. Okay, so I just copy and paste the value, and here's my Google credentials, right? Okay, so now that we already configured our environment variables, we can come here and start a new plan. And since it's the first time we triggered it, Terraform already read what is in our GitHub project, and here made a plan to create a Google storage bucket, and then create the object hello world file inside this one. So you see it's already planned and it's apply is pending, so we can come here and confirm and apply. It's just first apply here, confirm plan. So it's now the apply is running, as you can see it, and the two were created. So if we come here to our browser, let's refresh it to our Google Cloud Storage console, and let's see what we can see now. Here we are, we have our bucket with the name Terraform test files, which is exactly the name we gave it here. And if I access it, we can see the folder files which we created and the hello world file inside of that. And here you can see the content of the hello world file. It's exactly the content of the file we created here. Okay, so it's pretty fun. It's pretty easy, as you can see. You just just submitted everything to your GitHub and made a plan here on Terraform, and it's already created. You know, you just don't need to come here, browser, create bucket, and later on upload your file. Everything pretty automated. And now it's the best. Suppose that you change your code for some reason, and like the reports change, or you have new reports that but maybe you need to change your code, and now it's print hello world version 2 and you save it. Then what you're gonna do, you're gonna push everything to your GitHub. So git add, I'm gonna commit fit hello world version 2, and then I'm gonna push it to our main. So if we come here to our Terraform, you see that it did not automatically trigger a new run. So we just need to change a configuration. We come here to settings, and we're gonna come to version control and change it to always trigger runs. What does that mean? That whenever we have a change in the VCS, the version control system, which is GitHub, it will trigger a run. Okay, and then we are updating it. Success. See. So let's make one more change here in our code. Let's change it to version 3, and we're gonna add. We're gonna just change our commit name here to version 3, and then push. Okay. So here we are. Now we can see that automatically Terraform starts to create a new, to perform a new run, and maybe we'll create a new plan. You can click on it and see the details of that. And here we are with the plan. We have one file to create and one to destroy. What's that? It's gonna destroy the old version of hello world.py and create the new version. Then we can confirm and apply hello world version 3, confirm plan. And then the apply script, it will start to run right now. And here we are, the apply is finished. Now if we go to our browser, to our Google Cloud Storage, let's see here what's the content of our file. You can see here we are with the hello world.py file. Let's access it. And here we are, the last change we made to the file. Great though. Very well. That's the whole idea of using Terraform. You see how powerful it can be. You could have lots of reports with a huge team changing many codes, many different codes at the same time, and then you can update all automated and version controlled with the Terraform cloud connected to your project on GitHub, for example. It's amazing. Also, we saw the very simple example of Google Storage Bucket with a file, but you can use like a database. If you come to Google and like look for Terraform Cloud SQL, then you'll find here all the snippets and the codes that you need to create an instance of Cloud SQL database. For example, here are the examples of Postgres, but you can use like MySQL and everything else that Google Cloud provides. You can specify the settings of your instance, give its name, and then here, if you go down the page, you have another examples and all the documentation on all the parameters you can set to configure your instance exactly the way you want, and it will always be set. So that's the whole idea of using Terraform inside your project. Hope you liked it, hope you learned something, and hope it makes easier to manage all the infrastructure on your projects. So thank you very much for watching, and see you next time.